G'day, Jason here from In Search of Australia. Based on the polls that I put out to everyone, I'm here on Sydney's northern beaches at Narrabeen to search for fossils. And I might do a little bit of beach combing at the same time. Hope you enjoy. So I'm on Turimetta headland, just north of Narrabeen Beach. Hopefully you can hear me over the waves. There's the beach back there. I'm on the headland under this overhang, and the fossils are actually here but hard to find in general. So at the southern end of the beach there were some really clear ones that were quite solid and obviously not easy to dislodge, but over here there's lots of broken rock, lots of little fossils everywhere, but they're sort of faint fern fossils. So I'll pick up a few to show what they sort of look like. One of the rules for fossil hunting is you're not allowed to mechanically remove them. You are allowed to take fossils, however it's suggested not to actually go into the cliff face or any rocks like that. So do try and leave fossils behind, maybe just take one as a collector, but generally don't dig into the cliff face. There's enough erosion as it is. So it's actually hard to tell that there's fossils here, but when I get to, hopefully you'll see this pattern there. There you go, there's sort of white lines that have been left by a fern or something. You do see them. There are supposed to be fish and other types of fossils. I think even animates, if you're lucky. But generally, all I see are the ferns. So this rock I just picked up is probably a little clearer in terms of seeing the ferns on the rock. You can see those blackened areas with the textures of stems throughout the rock. So they're quite nice specimens. Bit big to take home, so I'm not going to do that. I'll just leave it here. But you'll certainly find these types of fossils easily. In some cases you might get mollusks of some sort. This may be one. The rock's way too big to split up, but that's sort of the thing you're looking for, particularly if you find a smaller rock with that sticking out. Fresh rock fall over there makes me think of Wile E. Coyote. Wouldn't have wanted to be under that. I'm actually having difficulty trying to work out which layer the fossils are coming from. It can't be up that high because of the sandy sedimentary rock that's up there. It should be somewhere here, which means you could follow it down closer to the beach there. So I'm going to check the theory out that it's all coming from this layer. If it's coming from the layer down here, it disappears quite quickly. Sometimes it can just be hard to distinguish a conglomerate from a fossil. If it's a fossil, I can't tell what it is. So I'm assuming it's some form of conglomerate. Found a good little pile of smashed up rock from the same layer. I'm looking for one that I can just take. You can see there's a little bit of fern there on the tip. That's not the one I'll take though. I'll just keep looking for something a little bit more interesting. This one's an interesting one. Got that layer which would have been a fern of some sort. And then this straight piece. I don't know what that is. The Sydney Basin is made up of many layers of rock. It's got seams of coal and other sediments. And what you'll find is that a number of these layers will dip down under the city and pop back out on the south coast. So coal around Newcastle can be found in Kiama, and that's because of that sort of bowl-like shape. So when you look at the layers here, you'll notice that they tend to dip down in a direction, and you sort of lose sight of them as you go along the lengths of the beaches. And here's an example of the layer dipping down. If I come back out, you'll notice that it starts heading up the cliff. Now, of course, there's exceptions to the rule where there's been, I guess, earthquakes or other activity, and that would have changed the direction of the rocks or broken them and changed what's there, but the tendency is for it to do this. Fossilization is very similar to what happens with these veins of rock here, and also quartz layers. So what happens is the organism's covered with sediment, then it rots away, the gap is filled by another mineral, and eventually when it gets exposed, that mineral may wear away and you get this imprint, very much like the cast of the Bigfoot foot, or it's more solid and replaces it, and then you end up with essentially like dinosaur bones or something like this shellfish here, where it hasn't worn away, the material's worn away around it. I recently acquired a Gold Monster 1000, and this is my practice by doing a bit of beach combing on Turimetta Beach after I have a look for the fossils. I get the feeling I'll get a lot of junk, but at least it'll give me a good idea as to how well it works. I guess this counts as a relic. Some old diesel boat engine, I imagine, or part of it. So this is either very promising or very frustrating. This tiny fragment of a soft drink tab set it off quite clearly. So, well, we know it works. Love the creativity of some people. Beach sculpture. Now, obviously one of the disadvantages of this little tiny coil is you've got to go slowly if you're covering your ground completely. It's not sure what it is. I'll just put a little stamp there. Don't know where it is. I don't have one of those nice little beach shovels at the moment, so I'm just going to use the one that's supplied with the Gold Monster, the little trowel. Because we're on the beach, I'm going to sort of do big swipes, otherwise you just get sand going back into the hole. And then I'll check around the hole with the metal detector and see what we've got. I'm guessing it's aluminium foil because it's either that or bottle caps. like I've got it. Somewhere there. Still didn't get it. It's interesting. It's the second time charcoal set it off, so I might have to change the sensitivity if it's going to get set off by charcoal. I'll just check though. Yep. Alright. So, let's bring it down. Out there. It still picks it up. Oh, it's not going to help at all. Very interesting. I don't know what the composition of charcoal actually causes this to go off. Unless, of course, there's metals in it from paint or something like that. But maybe you can tell me. I changed the setting to the more shallow one, less sensitive, and it stopped detecting charcoal. But interestingly, when I set it back, it stopped detecting it. So maybe it's when I calibrated it earlier. It just made it too sensitive. So here's my community service happening. A rusty fish hook, last thing you want in your foot. I mean, I know most fishermen won't actually just discard hooks like this. It could have fallen out of a tackle box or something, or even washed up after being snapped off. But I do hope it wasn't from just being careless and dumping things. And the winner is bottle caps. So with Coronas, can't say it's a nice beer in my taste buds. Collection of junk. One little pendant. Well, that has to be the most useful thing I've found so far. Oh, tent peg. Very modern style. Excellent. Obviously just for the sand. Now this is a little unexpected. I think it's a form of pumice, as in lava. Yeah, interesting. So here's a result of my beach combing. Lots of bottle caps, aluminium, soft drink tabs, a few old nails, a fish hook, tent peg, a little mint tin box, lots of foil. The foil was surprising. There's a little bit of lead here. And finally, this little pendant with its rusted chain. I'm really interested in things like that because it just makes me wonder what the story was behind it. So, you know, whose it was, how'd they lose it, who gave it to them, did they buy it, what did it mean to them? think it's probably too cheap to hand in as lost property, and it only have very vague sentimental value, I imagine. Could be just a cheap stainless steel pendant, but I can't tell. The chain's severely rusted though. But it was very interesting. I cleaned the beach a bit. Well, it's pretty successful for fossils. Not very successful for relics, if you want to call it that. I guess they are relics. But Turimetta Beach is certainly a nice place to come along and have a little look, because I can guarantee you'll find some of those fern fossils if you look around hard enough.